Welcome to our Portuguese Table podcast. I'm Maria Lawton, the Azorean Green Bean.
And I'm Angela Simoes, and we're just two chicks dishing about Portuguese food, culture, and what it means to be Portuguese American.
So grab a glass of vinho or un copo de café and join us as we talk about our favorite foods, reminisce about growing up Portuguese American,
and interview some of our community's most successful chefs and food writers.
So sit down at our Portuguese table. Hi, everyone. This is Maria Lawton. I'm here with Angela. Say hi, Angela.
Hello.
Hello. And we're also here with a special guest. We have Chef George Mendes. Hi, George.
Hi. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Now, I'm going to call you George, or do I have to call you Chef George?
No, George is fine. Thank you.
Well,
Perfect.
it's out of respect. I'm saying this out of respect because, you worked really hard to get that chef name in front of your name. So, I absolutely respect that.
We could call you Doutor Cozinheiro or something like that,
Yes.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
You're fine with calling Detour? Okay, Senor Detour. I have, for those that are out there, just introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are, George.
Sure. My name is George Mendes. I'm the chef and owner of Aldea Restaurant and Lupolo Restaurant here in New York City. Aldea is now approaching its 7-year birthday, and Lupolo is still an infant. We opened about 9 months ago, and here we are in the bustling concrete jungle of New York City.
I love your places. Your places are gorgeous. I'm going to now gush. Okay, can I gush, Angela? Can I gush?
Absolutely.
I'm going to gush.
Go for it.
Okay. Now, my husband and I was very lucky that I was able to eat at Chef George's restaurant, Lupolo, and I loved everything about it. I felt like I was in Portugal at a restaurant there. I really did. I felt very much at home. But now, don't you have Bica in there too?
Yeah, Bica is a little cafe window corner spot of Lupolo that services the sidewalk through a little window, but people also can come inside. And, it was basically our attempt to capture the foot traffic of the neighborhood and be able to serve some Portuguese baked goods in the morning, like the pastéis de nata and muffins and scones. And we have a really great relationship with a great coffee roaster out of Westchester County, up at White Plains, up upstate New York. And we're just getting some great blends of coffee. And I think we're really proud of the coffee program that we have. So Bica is part of Lupolo.
Yeah.
It's just, it's its own little entertainment of a toy, I think I can say almost.
I love that concept because that's so much a part of the Portuguese culture, right? The coffee and the pastry in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so quintessential. That's awesome. So, and I have to say, George, I'm in California, so I haven't been to your restaurants yet, but they are like at the top of my list for the next time I go out there. I can't wait. I have to say, I'm excited to try Lupolo first.
Yeah.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you.
Yes. And the thing is we're so proud of you because you've done amazing. You have this wonderful cookbook that you have that is also called My Portugal.
Thank you.
And the one thing that we as Portuguese have to kind of stick together on is being proud of each other. And I am so proud of you.
It's true. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, likewise.
I really am. And I love your book. I love it. Love it, love it,
it's
love it.
It's a beautiful book. Yeah, it's very, very beautifully done.
And first of all, I love when you open it, you have the tiles. And for anyone that knows me, I love tiles. So right off the bat, I'm like, oh my God, I love the inside cover. It's just tiles. But the stories that go along with it and the pictures and the food. And one of the things that I had at your restaurant that to this day, I still oh my God, I still remember it was the green fava bean.
Yeah.
With the morsala in it and the mint.
Yep. Very quintessential Portuguese combination from the Alentejo region.
It
just south of
is.
Lisbon. I think it's lovely. I've always loved that combination.
I love it. Now, the thing is with fava beans, young fava beans, of course, I grew up in the Azores, not in the continent. And with young fava bean, it would be the young fava bean with the chorizo and then
Right.
the parsley and then the egg on top. That's how you would have your fava bean. And so
Right.
when I had it with marsala, which I love marsala to begin with, and like mint, I'm like, okay, I'm blown away by this. This dish is just, and I know it's a simple dish, but sometimes it's the most simple things that are the most delicious sometimes.
Absolutely.
And yeah, but
Yeah, I think that was talked about in an article, or maybe on your website, that part of your style is just keeping with the simplicity of it, and which is a very Portuguese thing, right? So I love that.
Yeah. Well, the thing
it is.
Now, what is your favorite dish to make? Let's put it that way. What is your favorite dish to make?
God, it's that's a really hard question. I think, what we do at Lupolo and what we do at Aldea really gets inspired by or is driven by the seasons and what's available at the market. The winter becomes a challenge. I think, we really tried to cook for the clientele. We try to cook we try to strike a balance, whereas I'm able to personally express and execute food that I believe in, that I like, that kind of tells a story, and also caters to our clientele. I think Aldea has over the years become a destination restaurant. It's a little bit more quote unquote fine dining. It's a little more tasting menus,
Michelin star. Michelin rated.
Yes.
Let's add that in there. Hello, yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. And Lupolo is a little bit more like roll up your sleeves, come in after work, have a glass of wine or a craft beer, and have some bolinhos of bacalhau or some oysters or some charcuterie, that kind of a thing. And I think that what we cook at Lupolo, the entire menu has an interpretation or an expression of what we love to eat and also what we want to make. I think that I don't have one particular favorite dish. We have the dishes that are more popular, and Mila really loves coming in for the frango piripiri, and it just goes down that road.
Maybe I asked it the wrong way. What dish would you want? Let's say right now, if your mom or grandmother could make it for you, what dish would that be?
Gosh, I really love eating my mother's tomato rice with a tempura or like a little batter fried piece of fish on top, which is very, very common in Portuguese food.
Yes.
Portuguese culture, arroz de tomate with peixe frito. It brings me back to summertime in Danbury, Connecticut. Growing up in a Portuguese community, it was my mom would make that dish, my aunts would make that dish. We'd have it on Christmas Eve. We'd have it on a typical casual lazy Sunday. It just kind of became that example or that flavor reference point, and it wasn't just that dish, but a lot. I have to say that it's definitely rice dishes that have left a big impact on my career, period, and what I like to eat and cook.
And so your first food memory, let's put that. What's your first food memory?
Toast.
Really?
Yeah, we had. I love
every day is torrada.
Yeah, we had this Portuguese bakery down the street called the International Bakery, and occasionally, we'd have the Portuguese festival, Saints Days, and I remember coming home from the Portuguese club after dinner dancing. My mother would stop at the bakery as the bakers were taking the bread out of the oven overnight, and I can always smell that bread coming out of the oven. And then in the morning, whether it was my mom or it was my babysitter, there's just the simple such pleasure in a piece of bread coming out of the toaster oven and smothering butter on it.
It really is.
And that is my first memory of food. It's never going to go away. It's something that I still enjoy till today.
That's awesome. I love that. Now I'm going to ask you one more thing, and that is, more things, but now what one food would you absolutely won't eat?
I won't eat?
Yes.
Okay. I despise shad roe.
What is?
I can't eat shad roe. It's a delicacy that comes out every spring. It's the roe of shad fish that is very typically floured and sautéed, and it's very popular in the springtime, and it comes out at the same time as morel mushrooms and ramps and
Really?
and chanterelle mushrooms. It's very popular in many restaurants, and I just can't stand eating it.
You can't stand
So
it.
yeah, I won't eat it. I won't eat it.
So I don't blame you. It does not sound appetizing.
No,
at all.
that sounds gross. Why
Yeah.
would anyone want to eat that? Oh my God.
Well, we all eat caviar, though. You know, it's caviar.
Yeah.
You know, coming from sturgeon fine caviar.
But
is also low. It's an
I
egg.
don't care for it. Isn't that funny? I don't care for it. I tried it once, and I didn't like the little thing, and it was so salty, and it was like, oh, what? And then I found out what it was, and I was like, okay, now I know I don't care for it. So it could be laced in gold, George. And I really, yeah, isn't that funny? I don't care for that. So I'm right there with that one. All right.
So George, you said I love that your first food memory is the toast with the butter because it's such the ultimate comfort food. And so this goes into another question that is on Maria's list. So how early on, and it said in your bio that you had at an early age a love for food, but when did you know you wanted to be a chef?
That started right out of high school. I went and visited the Culinary Institute of America in approximately 1990. And I didn't have any other major plans to enroll in a university. My folks were not pushing me to apply to any schools. I didn't really have a major in mind. I wasn't really. I just wanted to work, and my mom and dad were both basically saying, "Hey, okay, just go out and find a job that you love, work hard, and make money."
Yep.
So it was kind of like that gave me like an opportunity to do whatever the hell I wanted.
Yep.
That's
awesome.
And they were immigrants. My parents were immigrants. They came in 1969, and they were blue collar workers all their life. So, and they didn't have a college education. So, I went on a whim. My senior year in high school, went on a field trip to the Culinary Institute of America, and I already had the whisper of food, being surrounded by it, by my mom's cooking, and all of the holidays at my aunt's house, and gathering the family members. It'd be up to 30 of us sitting around a table and just eating. That was a very celebratory part of the year, the holidays, and it was always surrounded by food. So I grew up with that.
It's funny because Angela's out in the West Coast, and of course, I'm out here in Massachusetts. And this past weekend, Angela flew down to Rhode Island for a meeting, so I met her. And because all this time we've been talking and Skyping and all of that stuff, and we always talk about this. It always comes back, being Portuguese, it always comes back to our table. It always comes back to our Portuguese table. And the best memories that we have is when we're there surrounded with our loved ones, and it's always a celebration. Whenever we're all around a table, it's always a party. It's a wonderful way to grow up and have that with us. That's part of being Portuguese.
And the kitchen was the place to be, right? I mean, you could have a beautiful dining room or a place to eat, but everybody was in the kitchen talking and drinking and eating and picking at the food that was being cooked,
Oh, not at my house.
People,
my
exactly.
Oh,
the kitchen was a magnet.
Because my mom, I should say my aunt had a kitchen in the basement. The upstairs kitchen was never used. It was just for show.
Typical Portuguese.
Yeah, but my mom was not like that. My mom was like, I don't want two kitchens because that means I have to clean two kitchens. So she always had it. We had it in there. But we lived in a 3-family home, and it was the small galley kitchen. So that kitchen was like, it was like she was a sergeant in there, and it was like this could only go there, that could only go there, and we were not allowed to go in that kitchen and nibble at anything until it was all on the table. Are you kidding me? No way. Now, does your mom, when it comes to time for parties now and all of that stuff, is your mom still the one making all the food, or is she saying, okay, George, you got to help mom now?
She still has a knack for it and a desire to, but it's become, the family has kind of dwindled, and everybody's had kids and moved away, and people. It's a lot to put together a dinner for 30 people, young kids and adults, out of a home kitchen, and and go downstairs and put together a plate settings for 30, and put this table with that table, and you have kids running around. It's a lot of work and a lot of stress. I remember my mother would always talk about that. And she's like, I don't know if I can do this. And it would always be the aunts and the sisters all helping each other out, and they'd go to each other's homes. I can still vividly remember these, from being a kid. And it got to a point where it became very stressful. So nowadays, my mom still cooks. My aunt still cooks. I find myself on Thanksgiving Day in the restaurants as we're always open, but Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are always still very special, where even if it's just 10 or 12 of us gathered around a small table and still being able to share, that special day of the year and be together. I think it's very important.
Yes, it is. We were talking before, and Angela and I were talking about what we had at our table for the holidays and I was explaining that from Thanksgiving through the new year, it's constant parties. It's the constant eating. It's the constant everything. And it must be hard. And I know I just read something about you not too long ago, and they were saying how you have changed your way of eating.
Yes.
And have started being more health conscious. And so I was reading that, and I'm like, oh my God, that poor man, he's surrounded by food all the time. And,
I didn't become Mr. Health Nut, eating, no fat and all like that. I mean, it's everything is still, I had a burger for lunch today,
I love hearing that.
It's not like everything. Yeah. Okay. I've just kind of really become a little bit more attentive in my lifestyle, and where everything was too excessive, I've kind of balanced it out where things are a lot more in moderation. But most importantly, that I'm becoming a lot more fitness aware and exercising and running. That's become my addiction, so to speak.
Interesting.
Yep.
Now, so you live in New York, correct, George?
Yes.
So do you find yourself walking a lot of places? Or are you still taking the subway and things like that? And I'll tell you the reason I ask is because, when we go to Portugal, we always, especially my husband, I think because it's easier for men to lose weight than women, he always loses like 15 pounds when he goes to Portugal. And I think a lot of it has to do with we walk everywhere just because of the nature of the city and the way it's laid out. And New York is one of those cities that lends itself much more to walking than I think a lot of places in the U.S., which certainly helps with fitness, right?
It definitely helps. I do a lot of walking on a daily basis. I live on 24th Street and 6th Avenue. Aldea is on 17th Street and 6th Avenue, and Lupolo is on 29th Street and 6th Avenue. So I know 6th Avenue like the back of my hand. I take a lot of steps up and down that road from 17th Street all the way up to 29th, 2, sometimes 3 times per day, on top of which I do a lot of running in the morning. I'm presently training for a half marathon.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
I think that's definitely given me a lot more clarity. I think it's probably the most ultimate stress manager, I would say, like to call that.
Really?
I think finding the time, it's like I've become a different. We're known to be night owls, and we socialize at night. And I think the past 6 to 8 months, have become a lot more of a morning person, and I'm training at 6:30 in the morning, and I'm running with other coaches, and it's become a whole different path. Which
am I going to recognize you when I see you next?
Yes, of course you will. Yes, of course you will. Of course you will. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think we just go through different stages in our lives. You go through different stages in your life, and you come to a point where it's like, you know what, I've been there, we've done that. Let's move on to the next chapter of life.
All right.
And that might be in different facets of all kinds. So.
Wow. Now I'm going to ask you a personal question now. I'm going to ask you a personal one. Now, are you married?
Not married. I'm divorced about, like 5-6 years ago now. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't know that. So do you have any children?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, I do have 2 children. It's a 7-year-old called Aldea and a 9-month-old called Lupola.
They are your babies.
Yeah, absolutely.
They are your babies. And how many siblings do you have?
I have one sister.
You have
a younger sister who lives in Brookfield, Connecticut.
Oh, nice. And nieces and nephews?
I've got 2 nephews, Jonathan and Caden.
Oh, that you get to spoil, hopefully.
I wish I could see them more. It's hard being in New York City and the hours and the demands of owning 2 businesses.
Yeah.
I wish I could see them more, but they're both soccer players, which I adore, and try to get up there as much as possible to spend time with them.
Oh, wow. I know that I want to thank you for being here and doing this with us. We're just trying to promote being Portuguese, the success stories of Portuguese people out there, and how we have to kind of own who we are and be proud of that. And I am so happy that you took the time out of a very busy day to come and talk to us. So I really, truly appreciate that.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure.
And just know that we adore you. We want the greatest success always for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I cannot wait to see you again and give you a big hug.
Thank you so much.
All right,
always great
George.
to see you, Maria.
All right, honey. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thanks so much, George.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
So what an amazing call with George. Chef George. Or Doutor George, as we were
Doutor
saying.
Cozinheiro, yeah.
Doutor Cozinheiro. And he had to go just for the simple fact that he's a busy man. He's a busy man.
Yes, yeah.
But I love talking to him. He's such a great
sweet guy. So down to earth.
God, yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's funny. My husband and I were visiting New York this past summer with family. And we got to go eat in Le Polo. And actually, Chef George came out and sat with us. And he did. He sat down,
nice.
and he knew about me, and I knew about him. But the thing is I didn't know he knew about me, and so he sat down and he's like, "So you're the Azorean Green Bean?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, yes!"
That's awesome. That's awesome.
And he's like, "I've got a book for you. I'd like to give you my book." And he signed it and all that. And he's like, "Well, where's my book?" And I'm like, "Oh shit! I didn't even think." So I'm like, "Oh goodness!" I said, "I'm so sorry."
It's in the mail.
Yeah. And I'm like, "I will mail it to you. I will absolutely mail it to you." And I did. And one of the things I wanted to ask him, but we didn't have time because again, he took that time for us, which I am so thankful. But one of the things we talked about, and I've said this again, I say it over and over, just how proud I am of him. And I told him what was the moment in his life that he kind of like took a step back and said, I've made it. Because I told him, I said, oh my God, you've made it. And he's like, yeah, it's like, I don't think that way. It's like, I've got so much more to do and all that stuff. I said, but no, you reached a point where you went, oh boy, this is really good.
Yeah.
And he said the time, he says, and like he said, his parents immigrated in the 60s over here, mm-hmm. and he was born here, but his parents are, blue collar workers, and they were in Portugal. They were they were workers. They were just everyday people and hard workers. And he said, when the president of Portugal came to his restaurant and he served him lunch.
What a surreal experience that must have been.
He was like, oh my God, it's like my parents came from, lesser means and came here to give me a better life. Yeah. And here I am, working, and because again, what did he say? His parents were like, you just go do it, go have fun, work, go make it happen.
Yep.
And that's what he did. He had that to do it. Mm-hmm. And how well is he doing that now? He is honored to have or be served a meal cooked by him, made by him at his restaurant. I mean, it is, I talk about it and I get goosebumps. I get goosebumps every time. I actually cried when he told me the story, because I think that's so heartfelt and just shows you just how much his heart is in being who he is.
Sure.
And so I'm going to say it again, Chef George Mendes. I am just completely proud of everything that you've done. I really am.
Well, and you know what I love too is that he's so down to earth, and his experiences are almost identical to everything that we've talked about and our own experiences. And, I don't know why we just assume that if someone is in a a high position like he is, or who's famous, that somehow their experiences were different and that's why they're famous, But it's
No,
not. It's
no,
not, right? They are
no.
just like us.
They are
And
just like
I mean,
us.
he could sit down at our Portuguese table and chat
Correct.
for hours with us
Yeah.
about
And
whatever.
he and
So
he
yeah,
did. And he did
yeah, he
sit at
did.
our table today.
Yep.
Yay, he sat at our table. We had an amazing time with Chef George Mendes today at our table, our Portuguese table. I am so, so happy right now that we were able to have him on and
Mhm.
have him share those moments and his food thoughts and
I love that his like when you asked him, what would you want your mom or your grandma to make you, and he said arroz de tomate,
yes.
because that is one dish that is the most nostalgic for me.
Really?
Yes, and I haven't really tried to make it. I think because I'm intimidated, even though I'm sure it's super easy. But when my great grandparents immigrated over here, they purchased a ranch or a farm out in Newcastle, and so that's what
Mhm.
that's how they made their living. And so then as the families got bigger, they didn't really work the land anymore, but it became a hub for the family, right? So we would spend Thanksgiving up there, and sometimes we spent New Year's up there, or we'd go up there during the summer. And so whenever we had big family meals up there, we always had tomato rice, right? And
Yep.
it was just so good. You could eat the whole pot. Like it was like, how popcorn is addicting and you could just keep going and
Yes.
going and eat the
Yes.
whole thing. That's
Yes.
how that rice was for us. And sometimes she would put chicken in it, but oh my God, it is really one of the best things I've ever eaten. And so when he said that, I just had this huge, we don't have video on podcast, but I had this huge, huge smile on my face because I'm like, yes, that is exactly right. So I love that.
Isn't that funny? Now I want to go make
spots. Oh, I might have to go try it.
Yeah.
I've never tried to make it.
Oh, but no, it's and I love, of course we all have our food memories that we have. And what is your first food memory, Angela?
Oh
Do you
my
have your
gosh.
first food memory?
I don't know.
I do. I have one.
What's yours?
Popish.
Yeah?
Yeah. Popish for me is something that we would have as a young child growing up, even there in St. Michael. I mean, I came over when I was 6. And in the morning, you would have popish. And when, again, coming here and going to school and coming home from school, my grandmother would always be the one who would be home. My dad would be too, but my grandmother would always be home. So I would always go upstairs and be with my grandmother because she would always have something going on. Okay. And she would make me popish. And for me, she would make popish de maizena, which would be a cornstarch for thickening. So, and then she would put chocolate cocoa powder on it. So by the time I was having pudding. I mean, let's put it out there. I was having bowls of pudding. But she would say, oh, it's good for you. You're going to, you need to be strong and whatever. And sometimes she'd put like an egg in it or whatever it was that would be kind of mixed and tempered in, so it would have more protein in it for you to give me strength, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's all these things that, eat, you need strength, but it was popish for me.
Yeah, so I have sort of a terrible memory. So, I mean, my cousins will say, oh, remember we did this? And I have no recollection. I'm like, are you sure I was there? But, I guess one of the, it's clearly not the first food I ever ate because I was old enough to help my mom make it. But then it's not a Portuguese thing. It was just chocolate pudding.
Oh, okay.
But I remember we would make it and we'd put it in, she had different sized cups. And there were big cups for the adults, and then there were the little cups for the kids. And I always wanted the big cup. Thus the big booty and hips that I have today. But
stop it! You are not. Stop it. She's lying, folks.
No. so yeah, no. I remember making that with my mom. And it's funny. I remember, and actually, this reminds me of something I wanted to say as a result of something Chef George said. Is that I do remember being in the kitchen a lot with my mom and her saying, here's how you do this. If you're going to make ground beef, here's how you do this. If you're going to boil an egg, here's how you do this. So I remember she was kind of teaching me even from a very young age, right? And I remember getting into college or even after we graduated and living on our own and having to do things, and how many people I met and my friends that didn't know how to do any of that stuff. And and then they would say, how did you learn how to do that? And I would say, well, my mom taught me. Didn't she teach you? Yes. And so when Chef George was talking about putting together a dinner for 30 people and you got to put the tables together. And I'm like, yeah, we're Portuguese. We're event planners from birth. Right?
We really are. We really are. Oh my God, you said it perfectly. We are.
And so I remember I just did a very small baby shower for a friend of mine. This is years ago. And it was at her house. And I said, listen, I'll just bring in some hors d'oeuvres. I've got platters, because we're Portuguese. We have way more dishes than we ever need. Right?
Yeah.
And so I brought everything over, and it was like little things, Maria. Like I can't even tell you. It was nothing difficult. Little cookies here and little tea sandwiches there. And my mom and I did it, like no problem. And one of the guests that were there, she said, did you have this catered? And I'm like, no. Like, this is the easiest thing ever. But then it dawned on me, like I said, we have been planning events, whether they're family events or at the Portuguese Hall forever. It's just second nature for us.
It's second nature. You're absolutely.
We could do a whole podcast on skills you develop being Portuguese. Right?
We are multitaskers. Let's put it that we really are. It's like, and you're right. It's always been, we just know. And I think I have completely different sets of pans for cooking, complete sets. I have two completely different full sets of pots and pans.
Okay.
I think I have, let me see. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least 6 different sets of table settings. At least.
Yeah.
At least I have that. And then I have so many bowls. I think my husband keeps asking me, how many more bowls do I need?
Yes.
But I feel like we always need bowls in the
right?
I'm going to need that. Gosh darn it. When we have that party and I'm going to be missing a bowl, I'm going to tell you why I'm missing that bowl. It's because my husband did not let me buy that bowl.
Well, and then when you don't have to rent them from anybody, you can tell your husband, see, we saved money because I have all the bowls.
I love it. I love it. So and it's right. We could be our own catering company because we do have so much stuff. I have even things put away like for when it's for the holidays or for the summertime when it's parties. I have boxes of extra glasses. I have boxes of extra, like everything that I just put away that I know I'm going to need if I have a party that I'm going to pulling out. And it's so funny, but it's true. We really are.
Yeah.
Born caterers, I guess, for event planning. We really do.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I remember too, going down to the Portuguese Hall when I was a kid and setting up for a dinner, and we had to roll out the tablecloths, the plastic rolls of tablecloths, or put out the placemats and then set the utensils. And so we were helping to put all that stuff together, right? And so then you start to learn what does it take to do a big event, right? So it's funny out here, there's a lot of Portuguese people in real estate and construction and stuff. I'm like, why aren't there more Portuguese event planners? It's like, we could do that in our sleep and get paid.
Oh my God, you're right.
$2,
All right, folks, whoever's listening out there, get it started. Come on, folks. Really. But yeah, you're right. But it goes out there that we know we can do it. I'm going to say this. There are times we go to places where we go, what? They paid someone to do this?
Yeah.
We could have done it better. It's like, what? What the heck is this? But it's so true. It's so true.
Yeah.
We just like having fun. We just like having fun.
That's why they always say, wherever, you could be anywhere. And if you're with Portuguese, we could have a party.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, on that note here, I think we've had a wonderful chat with Chef George. We want to thank him again if he's listening, we love you, George. And I cannot wait to go back and eat again at his restaurant. For those that are listening and you're anywhere near New York, you need to give him a try. You need to go support him.
Yep. We'll include the links to his websites in our show notes on the podcast website.
Yes,
yep,
absolutely.
Sure.
And at the same time, buy his book, My Portugal by George Mendes, which is beautiful and also has great pictures and not very intimidating at all. It's very easy and you'll love it. So, yeah.
Awesome. So exciting. This was a great start to our guest series.
Yes, it is. I can't wait to talk to all our other guests that we have coming on. I can't wait to know more about them. And I can't wait. It's going to be lots of fun.
Super sweet.
All right.
Right.
So thanks again, everyone. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks again for listening to our Portuguese Table podcast.
If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so on SoundCloud or iTunes.
And all episodes can be found on our website at www.ourportuguesetable.com.
You can also reach us at feedback@ourportuguesetable.com with comments, questions, or suggestions.
Até a próxima!